And we're live.
Yay! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business and Learning Show. It is Tuesday, May 26th. Elaine is with us this week. Yay! My partner in crime is back with me. Yay. Very excited about that. So, Elena, tell us how the move go.
It was interesting. That's about all you can say. I mean, how is a move when you do it in like 2 weeks? You have 5 kids, one of them under 2, and yeah, it was interesting. But we're all here. We're settled. We have amazing views, and the kids have lots of place to play. I mean, we can't complain. So I'm thankful for that it's over. And whenever you can hop on a plane and come and help me organize my kitchen, that'd be awesome.
Right. Yeah. I'll get right on that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yesterday was Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time. My husband and I went childless. Went and spent a couple of days with my brother-in-law in Wisconsin and his family and their friends. And we had a great time. We had a really great time. It was fun to be hanging out with other people besides my husband and our 2 daughters. So that was fun. I didn't say it on the last show, but I wanted to say, thank you to all of the Gold Star families, all the veterans who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Many of you know my husband was in the active duty Army for 6 years, former Army wife. And so, yeah, I forgot to mention that on the last show before that. So, but yeah, so thank you everyone for that.
Yes, thank you. We now live right near a military base, so it was very interesting being here for Memorial. Even though with everything going on, there was still a lot of different ways that everyone was honored and celebrated for their sacrifices and their service to our country. So thank you to Tammy's husband and to all the others who have served and are continuing to serve.
And I'm sure if Dan was here, he'd say, "You're welcome."
All right. So where are we? We are here on another episode of the Business and Learning Show. So what are we? We are a show that highlights tips and tricks for small business owners to not only grow, but also sustain their business. And you can learn more about this episode and us, as well as signing up to make sure you never miss a show at businessandlearning.com.
Yes, so as usual, we are streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. So if you have any questions for ourselves or our featured guests tonight, please go ahead and leave those comments or questions, and we'll include them right in the show.
Yes. And today we are joined by none other than my good friend, Dorothy Illson, who is the expert on paid media. She is one of those entrepreneurs that I think just does so many things, sometimes too many, sometimes we need to learn how to scale back. But she has had an amazing podcast called the Do Well and Do Good Show, and interviews some amazing entrepreneurs. So you got to go back and listen to the episodes that have already released. Amazing content, and it just makes you feel good about people in the world. So if you need something like that right now, definitely take a listen to her podcast. She also has a Facebook ads agency called Needle's Eye Media, which has a great story behind the title of her company that really pays homage to her family and where she grew up and her childhood, which is it just gives you the warm and fuzzies too. So we really want to welcome Dorothy to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, so, I'm just really excited to dive in and just share with everyone listening, anything about Facebook ads. We can talk Google ads. We do all sorts of paid traffic. So excited to dive in.
That's awesome. Yes. So let's talk about Facebook ads. Let's say we have Kelly. She's a local boutique owner, and she's considering making that leap over to paid Facebook promotion. Where does she start for someone like her?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges that business owners run into, especially when they're new to paid traffic, when they don't have someone who can kind of guide them through the process, it can be extremely intimidating. Facebook's ad manager platform is not intuitive. It is, really not something that's easy to just kind of muddle your way through. And so, one thing that Facebook has really put a lot of effort behind, especially recently, is making it easier to, to figure out the process if you are new. And so, a lot of people start simple by boosting posts, and taking advantage of the options that Facebook and Instagram give to simply expand the reach of your content that you're putting out organically. And so there are some disadvantages to boosting posts, which we can talk about. It really takes away a lot of your control. But for the person who has, say, a brick and mortar business or any small business, and they want to get started and they're intimidated, I really recommend just starting small and looking at the content that you're putting out organically that is doing well for you, because that's really going to be your clue as to what kind of content you want to put your money behind. So if you are posting organic content regularly, and by organic content, I just mean unpaid, posting to your Facebook page, to your Instagram page, then you really want to be looking at those posts and taking note of what kinds of messages people are responding to. Where are you getting comments? Where are you getting people sharing your posts? And take one of those top performing posts and go ahead and leverage that post as your first ad. And so that is really critical, when you're first starting, is just to use what you have available and to start small. You can start with Facebook ads at $5 a day. People do it all the time. And so, boosting posts is certainly kind of the first step if you're just getting started. But I do encourage you to, really take the time to learn how to build out an ad campaign inside of Ads Manager, because that's really where all of the power is going to come in your ability to, get what you want out of those Facebook ads.
Yeah. So when you're talking about, and I once heard this, I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but they were talking about that boosting a post really doesn't do a whole lot for you. Is that true for the newbie on, when it comes to Facebook ads?
Yeah, so the issue with boosting posts, so I mentioned that it has a lot of drawbacks.
Right.
And really the primary drawback is that when you create a Facebook ad campaign, you are able to tell Facebook exactly what result you're looking to get from that campaign, whether it be traffic or people messaging your page or people engaging with the post or conversions, people going to your website and taking an action. And so when you boost a post, you are automatically, by default, you're creating a post engagement campaign. And so what you're telling Facebook is, I want people to engage with this. I want them to leave comments. I want them to like it, to share it. But the problem is that's probably not what you really want. What you really want is leads or new customers. And so that's why, boosting posts, certainly it can be a way to kind of get to know the platform and just get your confidence up a little bit. But if you really want to take ads seriously, it's important to learn how to build them inside of Ads Manager, because that's going to allow you to optimize for the specific conversions or the specific action that you really want people to take, which is going to get you way better results from your ads versus, just boosting a post and getting some comments that may or may not be from your target customer.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. It's almost it's taking it like that one step. So for someone who really wants to start leveraging the traffic and what they can do with Facebook, just taking that from a boost, because I think it's just too easy. It's just too easy just to hit the button. Oh, boost post, boost post, boost post. So it's like, all right, if you're going to do this, let's do this right. Let's do this seriously. So let's add a few little layers to it. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to dive deep or anything. We can make it simple, but we're going to get so much more for that $5 or $10 than we would just hitting boost post.
Exactly. And it's interesting because I used to tell people just black and white, boosting posts is a complete waste of money. But what I realized was that for some people, especially for like local business owners or people who are totally new to the online space, there is some value in them just getting their confidence up on, how to build the audience and that stuff. So that's why I don't necessarily toe as hard of a line as, I may be used to. But if you're really looking to get results from your paid ads, it's not ever going to come from boosting posts. It's going to come from creating ad campaigns where you're telling Facebook exactly what you're looking to achieve, and then allowing that machine learning, the AI, to go do that heavy lifting and find the right people for you.
Exactly. So let's use Kelly's example. She's ready to start. What is the first, obviously not going to Facebook Manager. There needs to be some strategy on her part on who she wants to reach out to. What does she want to get from doing this ad? Does she want conversion? Does she want just leads? Does she want, what kind of walk us through those first steps for someone like that?
So, really the first step is understanding what your goal is and who your customer is. So, one thing, kind of the least sexy part of business is all the stuff that makes it work, right? The research,
right,
the deep dives on your customer avatars, the research to figure out what messaging is going to be compelling. So, step one is really understanding your customer at a very, very deep level, to the point where you can articulate their problems better than even they can. And that's what's going to make your ads really resonate with people and move them emotionally to take the next step with you. And so regardless of what type of ad that you are running, for the vast majority, it's either going to be conversion ads, or Facebook has a special type of ad called lead generation ads, where you can generate the lead directly on Facebook for people who maybe don't have the ability to build out a funnel on their website to send ad traffic into. You're going to typically get a lower quality lead, but you'll get lower cost leads as well using those. And so, once you understand your customer, once you really know who they are, what they're looking for, then it's really about going through the research process to see how you can target those people on Facebook. So if you're a local business and you can only sell to, say, a 20-mile radius or whatever it is, then your targeting is likely going to be very simple. It's just going to be a radius around your zip code or your city. And then the way that you're going to pull in the right people is through the messaging in your ad copy. If you only have an audience of 100,000 people because it's hyper local, you're not going to have much success layering additional interest targeting options, on top of that.
Right.
Conversely, if you're an online business or you can sell anywhere, then you're going to need to come up with your testing strategies for the different, the multitude of different interests, demographics, behaviors that Facebook allows you to target on. So, of course, there are a lot of different ways to go about it, but it all starts with understanding your customer and really, who that person is that you're trying to get in front of.
Sure. Yeah.
I like that. We actually have, so we had a few of our audience send in some questions that knew they couldn't watch live, but they had some questions about this. And one of them, I think, kind of goes along with what you're talking about with your audience target. So Missy from South Carolina, she asked, is it better to use specific audience targets or a more broad audience if you're focusing on conversion? Which I think you kind of talked about that, but do you want to expand on it? It
completely depends is the answer. So, for for my agency, we are spending, about $500,000 a month on ads. And, a lot of our clients, because we're spending, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a day or more on Facebook ads, we have to go out to broader audiences to get scale. But when you're just starting, if you have a $5 a day budget, a $10 a day budget, you're not going to be able to test, 6 different audiences that are, 20 million people, in each one of those. So you're going to have to get really targeted. The most powerful kind of audience that, I definitely want to encourage your listeners to think about and learn about are lookalike audiences. So if you have a small budget and, you aren't going to be able to do the degree of testing that you might otherwise like to, as long as you've had, about 700 is kind of the rule of thumb that I use. If you have an email list with at least 700 people or a customer list, even better, then you can go and create what's called a lookalike audience to tell Facebook, I just want more people like this. I want more people who look like these people. Okay. So that's one thing you could think about. Again, like I said, if you're local, then you're likely not going to want to use interest targeting. You would want to keep that open and pull in the right people with your copy. And then if you're national, then, I have in my Facebook ads course, the video on how to do audience research is a full hour long itself. So, that's certainly its own big topic. But it all starts with, just really understanding who that customer is, and then using the tools that Facebook provides to see what interests map to that. And you can even, as you start typing interests in the box inside Ads Manager, there's a little button that literally says suggestions, and you can click that to get other ideas that you might not have thought of that could be a good fit for you.
Fantastic. Now, you talked a little bit about testing, and one of our listeners, Dana from Virginia, has a question that's kind of like that. So she's heard about A/B testing. What is it exactly? And what is the best way to go about it for someone who's never quite done that before?
Mm-hmm. So there are 2 primary ways to do testing inside of Facebook. Mm-hmm. There's informal testing, and then there's formal testing. So informal testing is where you have a campaign. So just to break out kind of the structure of a Facebook ad campaign. At the campaign level, that's where you're telling Facebook what your goal is. My goal is conversions. My goal is, post engagement, messages. Then within a campaign, you have your ad sets. And your ad sets are where you're primarily thinking about your targeting. It's where you set a number of other settings as well. But you can have multiple ad sets within a campaign that's each targeting a different audience or a different group of interests. And then within an ad set, you can have multiple ads. And so informal testing is when you just take multiple ad sets and put them in a campaign, or you take multiple ads and put them in your ad set, and you allow Facebook to allocate your spend based on what is performing the best for you. So I typically, when we launch campaigns for our clients, I typically have about 4 ads within each of my ad sets. And the way that I'm setting those up is I'm taking 2 different variables that I want to test. So say it's the headline and the image. So if we have, our control ad copy that we know works, or, we've tested previously, then we take that ad copy and we mix and match the headlines and images. So we'll have, headline A, image A, headline B, image A, headline A, image B, headline B, image B. And we'll let those 4 ads run and allow Facebook to optimize the spend amongst them. So that's informal testing. Formal testing is where you're actually using Facebook's A/B split test tool to say, what performs better for me, this or this. Now, the advantage of those formal testing tools is that Facebook is also doing their own testing. And so you don't necessarily know that when you have 2 ad sets or 2 campaigns, that those are necessarily operating under the exact same algorithm, or that, all of the just hundreds of different variables that Facebook's, thousands of variables that Facebook's AI is using behind the scenes, you don't know that you're comparing apples to apples on those. Sometimes you'll also find that you'll have, one ad that just gobbles up all the spend and the rest aren't spending anything. So that's
Right.
where the formal A/B testing is really valuable. And so I encourage you to leverage Facebook's documentation on the various split testing tools to really just walk through step by step how to set that up. And if you've run an ad previously, you can take that that existing ad setter campaign and you can create a split test from that variation where you can then make a change and try to beat your control and continue that process till the end of time.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that go, I know I've heard of it, but what does it mean?
I know. Oh my goodness. I almost feel like I need to take a moment and okay, I want to go play with some ads right now.
Walk us through that. That's awesome.
I know, I want to go play with some ads. Let's go play with some ads. Oh my goodness. All right. So there's a lot of people, and I don't know what your agency has been doing. And there was a time where Facebook ads were the cheapest they had been in a long, long time. So I'm wondering, with everything that's going on, so many people that are home, if your clients have seen a shift, and for people who are kind of they're now starting to look at Facebook Shop that's coming, and getting online, if there's anything where they're like, okay, what's the right way for me to not take advantage, that's not the right words, but to utilize these low spend and great returns that everyone's having?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to touch on the fear that a lot of people have right now that it's bad to sell, during a time like this. And that's just frankly not true. The reality is that if you have a product or a service that helps people, that that is going to provide true benefits to your target customer, then you absolutely have the right and the obligation, I would argue, to continue to present that to the people who need it. So with that out of the way, it is really about just taking advantage of the unique scenario that's in front of us right now. We're seeing ad costs that we haven't seen since early 2017, I would say, thereabout. So for our clients, and we're coming up here on the end of May, just about every single one of our clients had a record-breaking April and is poised to have a record-breaking May. And that's really a reflection of just the climate on the ad networks right now. One thing that you want to keep in mind as you are advertising right now is just, meeting people at the conversation that's going on in their head. So if you were advertising before this, you don't want to go out with the exact same messaging that you were using 6 months ago, because it's just going to be tone deaf. So you really want to make sure that you are putting yourself out there right now, because if you're going to try paid advertising, it's highly unlikely that you're going to find a better opportunity than you will find right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've heard
Absolutely.
that, and that whole concept of, oh, I'm afraid to sell anything right now, or I'm afraid to do these things. It's, I mean, we talked about it just a couple of weeks ago on this show.
Yes. Yeah.
We had Christine and Felicia
and Christine. Yep.
They were thinking about launching a product, an online only product, or course, I believe it was. And they were
virtual.
kind of hesitant to do that because you didn't want to come across as greedy or selfish or not being aware of what other people are going through. But you still need to move forward with that and go after those things.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Yeah. And for them, like now is the best time to do that, because it was a virtual like beauty skincare assessment. Like what better time than now when everyone is at home and can do that. So I love your stance on you still have to sell, like business still goes on. The show must go on.
Absolutely.
It's small businesses that keep the economy going. So we need to continue, if we still have things that we want to launch, that we want to do it. And it may not look like what you envisioned 6 months ago, but it could be better. Like for Tammy and I, this show is even an example. We had these grand schemes about a year ago, and now it looks completely different. But we both are like, this is even better. Like
It is.
we get to talk to amazing people like Dorothy.
I appreciate it. And just to quantify it, for the listeners a little bit, I would say on average, we've seen lead costs drop by about 25% from February to April and May. So it's certainly not insignificant.
That's awesome. Now, switching gears a little bit, because I definitely want to talk about your podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast, what it's about? Because I know you're talking to entrepreneurs about things that they're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the show's called Do Well and Do Good, and it's really intended to highlight people who have not only achieved incredible success, with their businesses, with their lives financially, but who are really leveraging that success to have a greater positive impact on the world and give back. So, I think a lot of us struggle with our own unique meld of money mindset issues. And there's often a lot of guilt and shame wrapped up in making money and making a lot of money. And so what I really wanted to do was to highlight the fact that it doesn't have to be either or. I mean, if you're making a lot of money, that doesn't make you a bad person. Right. Rather, on the contrary, it makes you a person with resources who can go out and do incredible things in the world. And so, really releasing ourselves from that guilt and just those subconscious beliefs is really powerful. And so I'm trying to help people do that by sharing these stories of people who are having an incredible impact, and really show people what's possible.
I love that. I love that whole concept. Because, and especially I find this in the women that I speak with, they feel guilty like they're making this money. The ones who are achieving all kinds of success. And they tell me, well, and they'll say things like, oh, it's just a little side business. No, call it what it is. It's a full-fledged business. You're making decent money.
Right.
Don't be ashamed. Don't feel guilty about that unless you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Maybe that's a whole different topic. But if you're doing the right things and you're making that money, then be proud of what you've accomplished and use it for the better good.
Exactly. And you don't have to wait till you've achieved some, arbitrary destination to do that either. Yeah. I think that's the one of the biggest takeaways from the interviews I've had is that, giving is truly a habit. It's a muscle that you build. And so, it can be very, it's just not very helpful to anyone to kind of get in this mindset of like, oh, once I have a $500,000 business or $1 million business, like that's when I'm going to be able to give back. No, I mean, that's not true. I mean, it's really, if you can give now, even if it's just with your time, right. It really does kind of build that muscle, and it feels really good, right? Yes. So there's almost this selfish is the wrong word, but like it really helps fuel you. Like when you know that for every new customer you bring in, 5% or 10% is going to some cause that you really deeply care about. That's motivating. That's exciting. You get to celebrate every sale in an entirely new way. So right. I definitely encourage people to think about that.
I love that.
I love that. And one of the things I know, and one of the things that you do with the show that I really love is that each month you allowed the audience to vote on a charity that then your agency gave a portion of the proceeds to, which was really fun because it got like people involved, and it furthered that awareness of giving and these different things that people are involved in. Because I'll tell you what, I would say probably 80% of those organizations I had never heard of, but I was like, oh wow, look at what they're doing. That's so cool. So that was ingenious and really fun, what you did.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
And something else that I think is ingenious is your Needle Eye Media website. So if you haven't, after the show, you guys are all going to have to go to Needle's Eye Media. And unfortunately, Dorothy, you're going to get a bunch of bots. But your website is set up like a bot. It's not a traditional website with an about me, a contact, a landing page. It is a bot. Like how, what, when, where, when, how?
Totally. So it used to be a regular site with an about page and, all this stuff. And so the short story is that for the first couple of years that I was in business, we only did Facebook ads. And when we expanded and started running Google ads for our clients as well, all of a sudden the site just was out of date, and it was saying we only do Facebook ads. And I was like, that's not true. So it was causing some confusion when I was talking to prospective clients. And so I legitimately, and I'm not kidding, this is exactly how it happened. I got an email from a prospect I was talking to who was confused by the website, and I got so frustrated. I was like, okay, this is ending right now. And I went and I built that bot. I put it up on the website, intending for it to be a temporary thing while we worked on a redesign. And I ended up getting such incredible feedback from it. Like the very next week, I was talking to someone, and we brought on a new client that was truly like our ideal client, spending $100,000 a month, really just incredible business. And he said to me, he's like, you know why I hired you? It was that website. I've never seen something so creative or unique. And so anyway, I ended up leaving it there for much longer than intended, because really in my business, it's almost entirely based off of referrals and word of mouth. And because we only work with a small number of clients at a time, I'm not just trying to get, as many clients as I can. I'm trying to get like really just a very specific type of client. Right. And so the chatbot has been pretty effective at kind of drawing in the type of person who's attracted to that. And by the time someone gets to my website, they have almost 100% heard about me from someone else, and that's kind of how they're getting there in the first place. So anyway, there will be a new website coming eventually, but it's been low on the urgency scale.
When I was doing prep work for the show over the weekend and yesterday, and I went to I'm like, wait a minute, am I in the right spot? But I was like, oh, this is really cool. I've never seen this before. And I loved it. I absolutely just thought it was the neatest thing. So awesome.
Yeah,
we build those for clients too, by the way. So if anyone wants a robot, we got you. They're actually, I will say this is actually valuable for your audience. They're great for market testing. So one thing, we're actually running this for a client right now who is looking to create a new business. So it's a software company that he wants to, spend 6 figures building out. But you don't want to invest all that money in a new product or a new business if you don't know if people want it. So one really cool thing that you can do is run Google search traffic and create the ads, as if your product, your service, whatever, already exists right now. Run those ads and send it to a bot like that so that you can get the data on what your click-through rate looks like, what it's costing you to get someone to click on that kind of ad. And then once they get to the site or the bot, they can join your pre-launch list or, whatever it might be. And you can gather data from those people, from the very people who you're trying to reach with your eventual product. So anyway, it's just a really powerful tool for market research as well.
I love that idea. All right, you guys go out and do that.
Yeah.
Listen to what Dorothy said.
Yes.
Do it.
Do it.
Okay, so So like we told you before the show, we do this little segment called Rapid Fire. It's nothing too difficult. It's easy peasy. So I'll go ahead and start. What TV sitcom family would you be a member of if you could? Like anyone that's kind of out there.
Oh my gosh, I watch basically zero TV, so this is a surprisingly hard question for me. TV sitcom family. Let's see. I'm gonna go. Okay, this is gonna be out of left field. I bet you haven't heard this one before.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about Reba McEntire a lot recently.
I saw that.
So I'm actually getting married later this year at her old house, which is now a wedding venue. So I randomly did a throwback and watched an old episode of Reba, and I'm going to go with her family because she's hysterical in that.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Reba as their mama. I'm sorry.
Right? I know.
I know. That's awesome. Now I'm going to have to go watch that show. All right.
Yes.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what profession would you do if there, is there something out there that you aren't doing what you are? What would you be doing?
Horse trainer for sure. So
I knew it was gonna have something to do with horses.
Yeah, I've ridden horses my whole life, just about, and who knows, maybe it will be my second career.
That's awesome. Who doesn't love it?
There you go. All right. So we are all about the small businesses, the small local businesses. So what is your favorite meal or drink from a local restaurant?
Oh gosh, there's so many. So I live in a neighborhood called Andersonville in Chicago, which just has endless, unbelievable restaurants. But I would have to say there is a little like hole in the wall place called Taste of Lebanon, cash only, like super small, and they have the most amazing food. Their lentil soup and their falafel wrap is like my go-to lunch, and it's so inexpensive and so incredibly delicious. And I just love that, the business owners, it's just their like heart and soul, that restaurant. And that's what I love, when I really do try to shop local, in every opportunity that I can, like when I'm buying something online, or like if I'm going to Amazon, like I always try to ask myself the question, like, can I buy this somewhere else? Can I buy this from a local business? Especially now, that is so important. So I really, really encourage everyone to ask that question and support local however you can.
Yeah. And, sometimes those little hole in the wall restaurants are the absolute best.
Gosh, the best. So good.
Awesome.
Yes.
Taste of Lebanon in Andersonville, Chicago on Foster Avenue. Everyone go.
Everyone there, go there.
Next time you're in Chicago, go there. Okay. So besides Facebook ads and Google ads, what are you truly passionate about right now?
Great question. I wish. So I must admit, in quarantine, I have filled my time by working nonstop. I would say it has been, it's been food. I've really been taking the opportunity while we've all been at home to just really play around in the kitchen and explore new things. I was actually early to the bread baking train. I started baking bread about a year and a half ago, but I literally just baked the exact same single recipe of bread for that full year and a half. So in quarantine, I've been experimenting with bagels and brioche and challah.
I love bread. I could eat bread all day long.
Oh my gosh. It hasn't been good for the wedding goals, but it's been delicious.
Oh, you might have to switch gears and like experiment with vegetables so you can fit in the dress.
I have been doing celery juice every morning. I don't know if that offsets the bread, but we'll pretend.
Maybe.
We'll say it does. It does. Yes, it's celery juice. So, all right. So we talked about your podcast, but do you have a favorite podcast?
Yes. So, oh gosh, it's kind of a hard question because there are just so many podcasts that I love, but there's only one podcast that I actually listen to every episode of, and it's called The Newsworthy. It's with a woman named Erica Mandy, and it is all the day's news that you need to know in 10 minutes or less. And I am not a big news person. It just really gets me in a negative headspace often. And so I love that I can listen to Erica's podcast and that it's fast, it's unbiased, it's just the information that I need to be not totally oblivious to the world, and then I can get on with my day. So The Newsworthy.
That's awesome. Well, Dorothy.
All right, and I have one more.
Okay.
One more question. All right, I'm throwing in an extra one. So I know that you are all about like routines and stuff. You have morning and night routines for productivity. So what is the one thing that you will always do no matter where you're at, whether it's morning routine or night routine?
So this probably isn't the answer that you're expecting, but get 8 hours of sleep. I am like, so, and it's honestly the only way I can answer that question truthfully. Because like, yes, I do have my routine, my morning routine, my meditation, my journaling, all of that stuff. But I'd be lying if I said that, when I travel, I don't, often that stuff, I'm not the best at staying consistent when I'm traveling. But the one thing that I am always consistent about is getting enough sleep. And it's so important, right? Because there's such a hustle mentality that, is really easy to kind of fall into as an entrepreneur. But I know for me, at least, I perform my best when I am rested, when I'm not burnt out, when I'm not, operating off of, not enough sleep. And so that is my number one, gotta happen.
That's awesome.
Well, I really thought you were going to say your journaling. I really did.
Well, it wouldn't be, that's the one that I think is the most impactful. It's the most impactful and it's the most powerful for anyone who's looking to like really, just improve their mindset and the way that can show up in your business. Journaling is number one, but I'm not 100% consistent.
I love it. I love it. I'm all about the journaling and the gratitude every morning. Well, not every morning, but most mornings. Because it changes your day. It changes my day. So.
It does.
Well, yeah. Dorothy, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I could have sat here and listened to you talk all night long about Facebook ads. Yeah. But for our audience that's interested in finding out more about you, or where can they go? How can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. So I would definitely love to talk to anyone who wants to connect. My personal email address is dorothy@needlesimedia.com. So that's on the screen. You can look me up on Facebook, on Instagram, send me a friend request. I would absolutely love to connect with you.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Have
thank you so much.
Well, that was awesome and informative. I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much our show for tonight. Thank you, all of you that have tuned in live. We do appreciate it. And we'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time with Carrie of Code Red Lifestyle, which I'm very excited.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. So, like chicken mama girl. So now you're all going to be like, wait a minute, what? You'll have to tune in next week to find out what I mean. All right, guys, make sure you visit our website, businessandlearning.com. You can sign up for our mailing list. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can see more about our past episodes. And if you have a request for something, let us know on the website, and we will work our hardest to get it on the next show.
Absolutely. You guys have a great week. See ya.
See ya.